Analyst and CPA Dan Geltrude. So some colorful talk there, we can say, from Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
So how in the world would they do this?
Well, they're not going to be able to, and the reason is quite simple. The Republicans have control of the Senate, and they have control of the White House. So the House is not going to be able to get very much done. However, they're actually in a good political position because they're going to be able to make all kinds of proposals and promises for which they never have to deliver on.
Right, yeah. You know, let's take a look at what some of those could be, what Democrats are proposing on taxes. Raising taxes on corporations and high-income earners, middle-income tax cuts, restoring full SALT deduction from the current $10,000 limitation.
Yeah, and really the mantra here from the Democrats is simply going to be, we are going to tax the rich, we are going to tax corporations, they're not paying their fair share. But I ask you, how many people have you ever worked for that were poor? So do you really want to start taking the money out of the job creators, which are the corporations and the high-income earners and business owners? I mean, it's an economical mistake to go down that path. But again, they're not going to have to deliver on that for at least 2 more years. So they get to talk the big game, but yet not really have to do anything,
Along
Heather.
the same lines of like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was talking about 70% to the high-income earners, and those, as you said, are the people that hire people.
Right. Now, that proposal is simply outrageous. And I know there were people using examples to say, well, back in the 50s in the Eisenhower era, you had a tax rate that high and we were so prosperous. Nobody paid that tax rate back then. It was a much different scenario. I point to the last time that we had a 70% tax rate was during the Carter administration. So let's use that as the example. And then let's look at what the Reagan tax cuts did for the U.S. economy, which followed that.
Yeah, people need to take a look at history because you can certainly learn from it, or that's what you're supposed to do anyway in terms of mistakes. The House, they passed a spending bill, which would include funding for the IRS. A lot of people concerned about this, how the shutdown would impact, filing taxes, the timeline of getting refunds. So tell us about this.
Well, I think no matter how you slice this, refunds are going to be delayed. Right now, you only have...
delayed, okay.
Right now, you only have 12% of the IRS working. So if you're going to bring back furloughed workers, and let's say they weren't going to get paid, those workers are going to start using sick time. So in spite of the fact that they're promising that refunds are going to be paid out to the people who are due them, who is going to do the work? The IRS is thin on resources to start with. This shutdown is really devastating to them.
Right. So even with, once again, these Democratic promises, they can make all the promises they want, but they don't have to follow through with it.
Yeah, in this particular case, there's a question of the legality because tax refunds, believe it or not, are considered non-essential. We certainly don't view it that way, but from a governmental standpoint. So can you really go back and have the IRS go back to work for non-essential services? It's not what these things are about.
So a double whammy, though, for all those federal workers who are already, working without pay, who may be waiting for that, tax return. That could be delayed. Wow.
Absolutely, Heather.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, the time